offer a new service which was not there in the market. For that, we require strategy. And that is why we are going to talk about this entrepreneurial strategy, how to strategize things when we enter a new market. So let us see in upcoming PPT what we have. Now, why it is important to bring something new in the market? Why it is important? The very first is it helps, or let's say it drives innovation. That means what? New entry, it forces business to think differently. So when you are entering a new market, when you are entering a new business, or let's say a new industry, it forces you to introduce something like Ola and Uber. So they introduced app-based taxis. Now this innovation, what they brought, it actually replaced the traditional taxi booking systems and also improved the convenience, right? It become convenient to book a taxi and go somewhere, right? Earlier, people used to go physically, call a taxi, and then taxi, just looking at the face value of that particular customer, they used to charge a price. So that was abolished. That system was abolished by Uber and Ola, and because they wanted to offer something new in the market. So definitely new entry in entrepreneurial ventures, it drives innovation. Second, it creates competition. So when a new firm enters existing market, the existing companies, they must improve their quality and reduces prices. What happened with Reliance Jio? So when Reliance Jio entered the telecom market with low cost data, the competitors like Airtel, Vodafone, they reduce their prices and improve their services. So whenever a new firm enters the existing market, or let's say when a company offers something new that is not there, so other competitors also, those who are already there in the market, they are forced to offer something new. They are forced to improve their quality, or let's say reduce the prices. So somewhere down the lane, new entry helps the competitors also, helps the business also, and helps the customer also. And third, it generates the employment. How it generates the employment? Because new businesses, they create jobs directly or indirectly. So when I'm going to talk about Swiggy and Zomato, it created jobs for food delivery partners. That was not there earlier. Customer support, technical teams, right? And they also supported restaurants and suppliers when they were not able to have the customers. Now this Swiggy and Zomato, they actually created a platform wherein the restaurants and other suppliers can directly sell their products. All right, so it generates a lot of employment. So new entry creates value. Customers, they get better products at lower prices, businesses grow and innovate, and also economy benefits through jobs and growth. But it is not easy to have a new entry. There are many challenges with, when we enter a new market or when we offer something new. All right, the very first is market uncertainty. So when a new venture enters a market, it becomes very difficult to predict what is the customer demand, what are the regulations, or let's say future trends. Remember Paytm? Paytm was the one who took the first mover advantage. So when Paytm entered the post-pandemic market, expecting digital payments to grow consistently, but customer spending patterns changed. UPI usage overtook the wallets. All right, RBI restrictions added uncertainty. So this shows that unpredictable markets can affect a new entrance, right? So market uncertainty is something which is going to challenge it. So whenever you are entering a new market, you never know when that market changes quickly. Some rules and regulations will come, right? The taste and preferences of the customers can get changed. So this is one of the challenge when you are offering something new or you are entering into a new market or an industry. Second is the limited resources. Now, if I talk about limited resources, whenever a new entry is there, they usually lack funds. They usually lack manpower. They usually lack infrastructure. When I am going to talk about OYO now, right? So when Oyo, it was in the inception phase, so it struggled a lot because they had the limited resources, right? They, no doubt, they bought that concept which was not there in the market, right? Budget friendly hotels, right? So they brought that concept, but when they actually started their, you can say, inception, so they had struggled a lot because they had limited resources, which made their expansions difficult, right? Because they need to compete with bigger hotel chains that were already there. So limited resources is also one of the challenge with which every new entry faces. Third is the high competition. If you enter a market, right, wherein there is a strong establishment of the existing competitor, right? So new entrants, they fight with the established players, right? For example, when Reliance Jio entered, so already Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, they dominated the market, right? So, and the customers were loyal to the old brand. So to survive, Jio, remember, Jio had to give free 4G internet for months. So new businesses, they must, they face heavy competition. And in this is one of the challenge when they enter, when they start their journey. Then we have the customer acceptance. This happened with Zomato, right? So customers, they hesitant to trust new products or new services from a new business. So when Zomato started, people were not comfortable ordering food online. Users, they did not trust online restaurant ratings, and many feared the online payments also. So customer acceptance is also one of the biggest challenge which every new business faces, right? Because see, it is the psychology of human being, right? We always look for established brand whenever we go. So if you go to, to a mall, and if you find a new brand, you are very success, at a very instant glance, you will not use that product, right? Because you do not trust a new brand. Same happened with Zudio also, right? So Zudio, when they launched this for Tata, when launched Zudio, so because the rates were minimum, so people, they hesitant because they consider that if the price is less, the quality will be less. But slowly and gradually, when people started using it, they found Zudio very stylish, right? Very you can say they offer products that matches the, you can say, the demand for Gen Z. So customer acceptance in the initial stages is a challenge for the new entry. Then regulatory and legal barriers, at times it does happen, right? If I talk about Uber, so Uber, when introduced in our country, right, so they faced government rules for taxi permits, right, safety regulations after incidents, and you'll surprised to know that it was temporary ban also in some of the cities. So due to the regulatory and legal barriers, the new entries, the new businesses, they face some problem. Then operational inefficiencies, that means new entry, when you enter a new market, or let's say when you offer a new product and service, it might be a possibility that that particular business, or let's say that enterprise, lack mature system, right? For example, Byju's, why Byju's failed miserably? Because they expanded rapidly, but they did not have any efficient customer support system. They did not have any strong financial control. They had no proper training processes, and as a result, Byju's failed, right? So operational inefficiency can damage the reputation. They just took the advantage of that online education, right? Because post pandemic, they thought that everybody will have the access, they have the internet, right? They have the resources. So they expanded their operations like anything, without having the proper cost control, without having the financial control, without having the efficient customer support system. So they failed miserably. So if you enter a new market and if you do not have that operational efficiency, that would be a great challenge to you. Then risk of failure, right? And imitation. Imitation means copying. Suppose you are offering something new, next day your competitor will offer the same thing, Okay, like Nokia smartphones. Why Nokia? So Nokia smartphone entry failed because they misjudged customers' preferences for Android, and their competitors, they innovated faster. So risk of failure can be there, imitation can be there, and technological challenges. Obviously, nowadays what you can see is the technological challenge, right? New entrants, they must, whenever they are entering a new market, they should have a strong technical backup, right? So that is, if they do not have that, so they are going to fail in the market soon. So this was about how to enter a new market, what are its importance, and what are its different challenges. Now let us quickly talk about how to identify and generate a port. How to enter a new market, what are the its importance and what are its different challenges. Now let us quickly talk about how to identify and generate opportunities, right? Very basic thing which every learner, or let's say many of the learners asked me this thing in the live discussion board session, ma'am, how to identify, how to generate. So the very first is understand the customer needs. And for that, you need to do a lot of market research, right? So identifying opportunities is a tedious task. So whenever you are starting, whenever you are thinking to start a new business or to enter into a new market or to enter into a new industry or to enter a new, to develop a new product or a new service, modifying the existing products and new services. So for that, the very first thing is you need to understand the customer needs. What customer is wanting? So entrepreneurs, they first study what customer wants, what problems they are facing, what is missing in current products or services, right? Now, I'll just take a very small example. Before the food delivery applications became popular, many customers, right? Because see, Gen Z, or let's say Gen X, Gen Y, right? Couples are working, right? They do not have time to cook, so they always wanted that they should have some food delivery system, right? Wherein they can order food and food can come directly at their home, right? They were ready to pay. So when Swiggy and Zomato identified this need, they understood what customer is wanting. So they started it with the metro cities, right? Wherein the working population is huge, right? And there are couples, those who want and the food to be delivered at their home. So Swiggy and Zomato, they identified this need and created an online food delivery model. Second is you can also analyze the trend. What is going on in trend nowadays? For example, trend shows what is the customer behavior, right? How the customer is behaving, what new technology is there, lifestyle or society is changing, why the market is flooded with health conscious products nowadays. Because people, this, the lifestyle of people, it has been changed. Now people, they are more focusing on their health, they are more focusing on their traveling, they are more focusing on meditation, yoga, just to keep their mind relaxed because they are working in a stressful environment. So this is what trend analysis says. So you can have a market research, you can have the questionnaire get filled, and therefore you can analyze those questionnaires, what data you have collected, analyze it. Second option can be you can analyze the trend, what is currently going in the market and how I can offer that particular thing to my customers. So nowadays, if I take one example like sugar-free products, or let's say wearable fitness bands, or let's say the fitness applications, or let's say the organic food. So this is the trend nowadays, and you'll find that the market is flooded with organic food, right? Flooded with fitness applications. Every corner of your, let's say, every hook, or let's say every corner of your society, you can find one gym, right? You can find that nowadays, if you'll stream, let's say the social networking sites also, so therein you'll find that there are nutritionists that are sitting there, right? You can take the help of those dietitians, right? They'll prepare your diet chart and all, and everyone is focusing on his or her health. That is the trend nowadays, isn't it? Also, if I take the example of e-commerce platform, why the market is flooded with because people, they do not have time to go and visit the physical stores and buy the products for them. They do not have that much time, right? So especially in the metro cities, Swiggy, Zomato, e-commerce platforms, right? If I talk about cloud business, right? Cloud kitchen, again, it is the need of the hour. Then fitness applications, sugar-free products, wearable fitness brands, all these are, you can say, trending nowadays. So you can also identify the trend and then you can generate the opportunity. Third is study your customer, right? Entrepreneurs who also observe what competitors are offering and where they are weak. Okay, for example, let's take a quick example. Like, for example, existing coaching centers are there. They offer offline classes, but an entrepreneur may create an online learning platform with the recorded lectures, quizzes, and flexible timing. So this is how, what your customers are not, what your competitors are not offering, you can offer that. So I'm in this particular unit number 3, I'm going to make you understand Porter's 5 forces model. So that 5 forces model is going to help you a lot to study your competitors, what they are offering, right? What is the bargaining power of buyers? What is the bargaining power of suppliers? Threat of new entries. So that is going to help you a lot to study the particular market. So we are going to discuss those 4 models: SWOT analysis, pestle analysis, Porter's 5 forces model, and lean method, right? At the end of this particular PPT. So I hope till here things are clear. I'll come back to the screen. Yes, Zudio, not only its price positioning, but also they followed the fashion. They followed the what is Gen Z that is demanding right now, right? So they want fashionable products, right, which they can use every day, and they get bored so that they can change also. So they want variety, or also they want something which is affordable. Because see, Gen Z, those people are not working, no, they have limited money in their hand, most probably the money which is pocket money. So they have limited money, and this is how Zudio positioned itself in the market, right? Okay, now let me take that particular all right, so we are done with this. How to identify the opportunity? You can understand customer need by doing an in-depth survey. You can also analyze the trends, and you can also study the competitors. That is going to help you a lot. What they are not offering, offer that particular thing, and there will be a big hit, right? For example, if you want to establish your own e-commerce platform. Now, if I talk about why Amazon is far ahead of Flipkart, is because they have got, let's say, technology wise, Amazon is better, right? They have got the huge warehouses, their scalability is high, they are offering products and services at better prices, their application is smooth, right? And they're offering the other benefits also to their customers. So what they are not offering, offer it. Then only the customer will switch from the competitors to you, like Zio, what Reliance Jio did. All right. Now, once you have identified what is not there in the market, then develop the ideas, right? Then develop how we can generate the opportunities. The very first is brainstorming. So after identifying the customer needs, entrepreneurs, they actually generate multiple solutions, right? I'll just take the example of food delivery, right? So once they have identified that people in metro cities, they want something they want that the food should come at their home. Now there can be many possible ways to turn that idea into reality, right? Customer wanted restaurant food at home. Now entrepreneurs, they brainstormed. Now we can have the phone based ordering, we can have the website ordering, we can also have the mobile application delivery system, right? Now these are the three ideas that were generated. Okay, so due to brainstorming. Now what is brainstorming? Brainstorming is actually churning your brain, right? Just churn your brain, just look into the, you can say rotate your brain into 360-degree analysis, right? Look from each and every perspective, how I can meet this unmet demand, how I can fulfill this particular gap. So gap I have identified through customer trends, through seeing my competitors, or let's say to analyzing the trends, or by asking, or let's say doing a lot of in-depth market research. Once I've identified that particular gap, then I generate various ideas. So one of the way of generating ideas is brainstorming. Second is you can use the data also, right? So entrepreneurs, they use data to confirm whether the idea is practical and is in demand or not, right? For example, remember we took the example of this organic food and healthy lifestyle. So actually the entrepreneurs, they used this data, right, to launch fitness applications, or let's say to launch organic product stores. So this is how we can use that particular data what we have collected, and then we can turn that particular gap into reality. Experiment. You can also, before launching your idea on a commercial basis, what you can do is you can also do a lot of experiment. Test idea on a small scale before full launch, right? Like for example, Netflix, they observed demand for flexible entertainment. So initially they tested online streaming, right, alongside the DVD rentals. If you people remember, Netflix was actually into the business of DVD rentals, right? But before actually launching that particular this streaming online, they actually first tested it on a small group. And once they found that, yes, it is a success, then they shifted to streaming. So this is how you can generate opportunities. So first of all, you identify the need, what is not there, brainstorm, generate a lot of ideas, use the data, and experiment a lot to test and improve. So this is how you can actually generate opportunities for you. Then there can be many opportunities to test and improve. So this is how you can actually generate opportunities for you. Then there can be many opportunities, many ideas to meet that unmet demand. Now, I still remember one of the learner asked me in the live discussion board session, ma'am, there are many ideas that are running into my head, but how to find out which idea is best for me? So these are the 4 ways to find out, to select which idea is the most prominent one, because you can meet the demand through various ways. You have generated those ways also, but it is not possible or feasible to practically implement all those 4 solutions. So we need to select the one best and practical idea. So these are the certain things, or these are the certain ways through which you can evaluate your strategy. The very first is demand. Okay. Is there any demand for that particular idea? All right. So evaluating opportunity means checking whether an idea is worth pursuing, whether I should carry on this idea or not. Right. So the very first is, because it happens that you just did the survey on a small group of customers, and based on that data, based on that particular trend, you generated few ideas. So you need to evaluate those ideas in terms of demand. Is there is a real need for that product and service? So food delivery apps like Zomato, they succeeded because many people wanted food, restaurant food at home. So higher demand, that means what? Higher chances of success. Second is the profitability. So will the idea generate profit for me? Because we are not doing any social service. Entrepreneurship is basically to generate the profits. So let's suppose if I think of a cloud kitchen model, because that is in demand, right? So a cloud kitchen model that is only for delivery only restaurant, it reduces rent and staff cost. So definitely it is a profitable option for me, right? I need not to have much staff. All right, I do not need to have that very fancy restaurant. I just need a small space wherein I can prepare the food and can deliver it. So you need to test that particular idea in terms of profitability, in terms of demand, in terms of feasibility. Is it feasible? Whatever I am thinking, is it feasible to carry on? Be in terms of, are the resources available? Is the technology available? Right? Are the finances available? Because it becomes difficult. For example, you thought of, let's say, cloud kitchen, but in your area, there is no such technology which is available. So it becomes that idea, you need to drop that idea, or you need to shift your place, right? I thought of food delivery system, right? I thought to launch, let's say, a food delivery app like Zomato and Swiggy in my own area, but I do not have that much technology. I do not have those human resources. So whenever you have any idea, you need to check for feasibility also, whether it is feasible, possible with available resources, right? You need, if you want to have the food delivery startup, you require technology, you require delivery network, you require partnership with restaurants. So if all these resources are available, it is feasible. If not, drop that idea and switch to the next one. Scalability important. Every idea should have scalability. That means, can my business grow easily over a period of time if I adapt this particular idea? So Zomato, it started with one city and expanded across multiple cities and countries. All right, digital platforms, they scale faster than traditional businesses. Nowadays, you can see just by merely sitting at home, you can open your own startup. Right, you can start selling products and services, and scalability is also high in case of digital platforms, which is not there in the traditional businesses. So these are the 4 ways: demand, profitability, feasibility, and scalability. Okay, because entrepreneurship is not a one-day affair. You need to have a long-term sustainability, and for that, scalability has to be there. Can I expand my business with this idea? If the answer is yes, you can go for it. If the answer is no, stop that idea, drop that idea, and switch to the next idea. Now, once we, convert that idea into reality, we find many risks, right? Now, how to avoid that risk? These are the 4 ways. Market research. Do a in-depth research. Without research, nothing is there. So you need to identify preferences. You need to identify that what the customer is demanding accurately. You can also go for pilot testing. This is what I say. Do not launch your business. Do not launch your idea on a large scale first. Test it on a small scale before the full launch, right? So just take the example of Zomato. They started with only one city. They had resources, they had finances, they had everything, but they went on pilot testing first. So they selected one city, they launched it there, and once they got success there, then they expanded it to other cities. You can also go for collaborations. Why we always say go for partnerships. because it reduces risk and cost. The cost is alone not borne by the single entrepreneur if you are into the partnership. Okay. So that reduces your investment, that reduces your operationals. And fourth is the diversification, right? Do not depend on only one source, diversify it. All right. Like for example, Zomato. We'll say ma'am is after Zomato today. So Zomato expanded from food delivery to dining services, grocery delivery, same went Blinkit, you see, right? So grocery delivery, because they were not only dependent on one thing. They started with one idea, that is food delivery app, but slowly and gradually they diversified into different areas, because diversification is something that helps the organization, reduces the risk. Okay, so these are the 4 ways through which you can reduce your risk. Market research. If suppose you offered a new product, okay, after 1 year that product was imitated, competitors, they brought the same product in the market. Now what? You need to have the market research again, find out what others are offering and how your product is lagging behind, do a lot of changes, reoffer it. This is how you are going to survive in this competitive world. Without it, it will be a big failure. Pilot testing. If you already have your business, you want to diverse into other fields, do a small testing. Do not large it on a commercial basis, right? Do not go for commercialization on a large scale. First launch it on a small scale, and then if that idea is a hit, launch it on a large scale. You can also go for partnerships and diversification. Diversification is the need of the hour. You cannot stay with one idea alone. You need to diversify your products and services. So I hope till here things are clear. Yes, Atul. Commercial cylinders, the prices of commercial cylinders, like the prices are, they have increased thrice, right? So yes, feasibility means possibility. Pilot testing is testing the newly launched product on a small scale, because if you commercialize it, this actually happens with many companies. You might have seen that when a car manufacturer, they come up with a new car, they actually first they launch it on a small scale. All right, then if everything goes right, then they launch it on a large scale. So that is the pilot testing. So whenever you are offering, I'll help you out, Nikhil. I'll take the exam preparatory session. First, concentrate on the clarity of the topics. Okay? All right. Scalability is the possibility to scale your business with that particular idea. What else I can add on? If the answer is yes, go for that particular idea. If the answer is no, drop that idea. Isn't it? For example, food delivery system. So food delivery has the scalability. I can deliver the food around 1 kilo. I started with 1 kilometer, then I expanded it to 2, 3, 4. I covered the entire city. Then I expanded into the other cities. That is the scalability. Is it okay? And digital networks have more scalability than the traditional businesses. Diversification is when you offer multiple product lines. Like, just open the app of Zomato. There you will find district app. There you will find Blinkit. There you are going to find out, what is that? Yes, for groceries, they have started with that particular thing, right? And if I talk about, just let me. So that is the diversification. All right. Okay. Now, last few minutes, I want your concentration to be there. So here we are with few of the strategic frameworks, strategies that work extremely well when we start our own business. SWOT analysis, I guess everybody knows. I hope you people know about SWOT analysis. SWOT is strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, right? Suppose a startup identify, if you are going for, you are starting your business, so you can very well apply this strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. Try to find out your strengths. It can be quickly respond, my strength can be I'm good at technology, I'm good at human resources. That can be your strength. Weakness can be, your weakness of your business can be like excessive overload, expertise are missing, human resources are missing, let's suppose, or experts are missing. Opportunities can be, I can convert existing products for the new markets. Threats can be that this market, many competitors can enter this market easily, or let's say the regulations can be a threat to me, cost of technology or investment is a threat to me. So SWOT analysis is a framework that is going to give you some clarity, and based on it you can prepare your own strategy. That is the SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunities, and strengths. Next is your pestle analysis: political, economic, social, technology, legal, and environment. And environment. Now, when you go for pestle analysis, it is going to give you important information about the external environment. SWOT is basically internal, right? What are your strengths of your business? What are weaknesses of your business? All these frameworks are going to help you sustain your business. Remember, we talked about sustainable growth. So whenever you want to have sustainability in your business, apply these models, apply these frameworks. The very first was the pestle analysis. Identify your strength. When you know your strength, work upon it. When you know your weakness, convert your weaknesses into strength. When you know your opportunities, grab them and convert your threats into your opportunities. All right. So SWOT analysis, internal analysis. Pestle analysis, external environment, political environment, economic environment. Suppose I want to expand my business to another nation. Let's suppose Australia. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I will go for my SWOT analysis. Then that will give me the internal insight about my business. What my business is good at, what are my weak points, what are my different opportunities and threats. Then pestle analysis is going to give you, is there any political stability there? All right. What is the economic growth, employment rate, monetary policy? Social, what is the income distribution, demographic, lifestyle factors, influence, right? Education level, what is the per capita income, GDP, what are the taste and preferences of the people there out? Technology. Then legal environment, taxation policies, employment laws, IPR laws, right? Intellectual property right, environment. All right. So what kind of environment do they have? If there is a place where current, that place faces frequent floods or volcanic eruptions, it is difficult for me to do business there in that particular nation. So pestle analysis is going to give you an insight about external environment, right? Then we have Porter's 5 forces model. It is going to give you an in-depth about the industry in which you are going to enter. So whenever you are going to enter into a new industry, study these 5 Porter's forces, right? So Michael F. Porter, he identified these 5 forces, and when you are going to study it, you are going to get a good in-depth about the market which is there, about that particular industry in which you are going to enter. So you can see these 5 forces: rivalry of the customers, or competitors, potential of new market entrants. If the industry has the potential of new market entrants, that means anyone can enter the industry. So that is dangerous. If the supplier is in the bargaining position, again, it is dangerous. If the customer is in the bargaining position, if it is high, it is dangerous. What is the threat of substitutes? What is the rivalry of the competitors? If I am going to identify and study all these 5 forces, that is going to give me a deep insight about what is there in the market. Right? Now, I'll just switch to this Spotify. I got this particular thing and I thought to share it with you all. This is Spotify's Porter's 5 forces model. So when you are going to study this, threats of new entrants. So high technology and infrastructure demand, hefty cost for music listening, licensing, strong financial backing required, barriers from established brand loyalty, potential for new market entrants. If I talk about the bargaining power of suppliers, that means control by major record labels, essential content provided by the artist, favorable negotiation terms for labels, impact on pricing and availability, and limited number of major suppliers. So when I study about my suppliers, when Spotify, they studied about the bargaining power of suppliers, they found that there is a limited number of major suppliers. So they are in the position of bargain. And when suppliers are in the position of bargain, you can imagine you cannot negotiate, because you need resources, and if suppliers are less, so they will be in the advantageous position. Then threats of substitute. Is there any threats of substitute? Traditional and satellites radio can be a threat. Purchasing physical music formats, free platforms like YouTube, piracy and illegal downloads, emerging music platforms. So these are my threats of substitutes, right? Instead of Spotify, I can go and look for YouTube. Instead of that, I can have illegal downloads. There are many websites. I can go and download the music and listen to them. Why should I go for Spotify, right? Other music platforms are also there, and purchasing physical music formats, I can also do it. So these are the substitutes that are available for Spotify. Then bargaining power of buyers, availability of alternative streaming services, low switching cost for users, Spotify and others, right? So the charges are more or the less same. So if I'm not satisfied with the Spotify, I can switch to other music online streaming platform, right? Competitive pricing is there, user preference for exclusive content, increasing demand for personalized experiences. So this is what buyers want. And competitive rivalry, competition from Apple, Amazon, and YouTube, constant innovation by the competitors, competitive pricing strategies, exclusive content and partnerships, and user loyalty challenges. So you can see, when I want to study an industry, I want to talk about what are the threats of substitute, what is the situation of my supplier, what is the situation of my buyers? Buyers are whom? They are my customers. What is the situation of my competitors? And what is the situation of new entries, right? Whether they can enter my industry or not. So this Porter's 5 forces model is going to give you an in-depth about the industry. Then last is the lean startup method. Now this lean startup method is an approach to build new businesses quickly with a minimum risk. Lean is to thin down the things, right? To exclude all those unnecessary, you can say, things, and just focus on the simple things. So whenever you want to enter a new market, so lean startup method basically focus on creating a minimum viable product, MVP. That means They test that product with their real customer, and based on that feedback, they launch it. So what they do is they create a simple and basic version of the product. They collect customer reaction, they analyze the real data, then they decide whether to pivot, whether to change the direction or continue with the improving. Now, this method helps entrepreneur avoid wasting time and money and make decisions based on evidence and reach product market fit faster. What Airbnb did. So they actually tested their idea by renting out one apartment before building the full platform. So that is the lean startup method, right? Just the example of pilot testing. So you do it with your basic product, launch that basic product in the market, collect the customer feedback, analyze it. If the feedback is okay, you can go for commercialization. If the feedback is that it requires continuous improvement, do it, and then again relaunch. So these are the four different methods, or let's say the strategical frameworks that we talked about, that helps, you can say, new businesses to sustain their ideas. I hope till here things are clear, and with this we come to an end to our unit number 3. I'll take up the queries in the live discussion board session. Porter's 5 forces model I'll take up again in the live discussion board session. Okay. I request ma'am to kindly float the feedback form in the group.
Ma'am, I have pasted the feedback form in the chat group.
Can you pin that particular, because
okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
All right, so ma'am is actually pinning that particular feedback form. I request each one of you to kindly fill it. 5 forces model I'll again take up in the next session. Need not to worry, and if I get some time, I'll take up in the live discussion board session also. All right, everyone. Atul, if there is a sudden situation happen like COVID, or let's say World War, you should always have a plan B. This is what I say to my learners. Never ever, you can say, never ever stick to one plan. Okay, you should, and diversification is the best way, which can help you manage your losses, right? Suppose you were only, you can say, you were only sticking to one product, or let's say one industry, and that industry, went on the closure due to the war, or let's say other things. So what you can do is you can always switch. You have other ventures also, no? You have other products and services with what you can deal with. So this is how diversification helps you to sustain your business in a long run. I guess this is the lean startup method slide. This actually helps you in pilot testing. So whenever you are launching a new product in the market, you not only go for SWOT analysis, you not only go for pestle analysis, or let's say the Porter's 5 forces model, but you can also go for lean startup. Offer a basic product in the market, launch it on a small level of customers, small number of customers, collect the real-time feedback, make some improvements, and then relaunch it on a commercial scale, on a large scale. I hope it is clear now. Feedback form. Ma'am, are you there? Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Students are waiting for the feedback form link.
Ma'am, I have pasted out, and some students has also like it also, ma'am. So that means the people have filled it out the form, ma'am.
They are saying feedback form is not visible. Can you share that link again in the
yes,
Q&A?
ma'am. I done it. I have pasted in the Q&A also, ma'am. I have just pasted the recently. I will do it
Okay,
again. Some student
right,
has
right.
also pasted out. Shashank Kumar.
Shashank has already done it. Thank you. You again paste it in the chat box so that
Okay, ma'am. I will do it, ma'am.
okay. So thank you so much, everyone. I request each one of you to kindly fill the feedback form, right? And that's all from my end. In fact, many students, Nakul has also shared that feedback form link. So now, okay. So ma'am has also already shared it. So I request each one of you to kindly fill this feedback form. We are going to meet again in the live discussion board session with all your queries, right? And thank you so much, everyone. I hope Unit 3 is clear. Entrepreneurial strategy is clear to each one of you. And for queries, we can always meet in the live discussion board session. And thank you, ma'am, for moderating the session. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a nice weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.